Okay, so you know how we're always told, like, money equals success? Like, that's the goal, right?
Mm.
But does it really, though? Like, does having a ton of money actually make you happy?
It's a question for the ages, isn't it?
It is. And that's exactly what we're going to be diving into today.
All right, let's do it.
We're tackling this with this Dhruv Rathee video, The Sad Life of Risky H People.
Yeah.
And it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, he doesn't hold back. It's some heavy stuff.
It really is.
Yeah,
But, like, in a good way, you know? It makes you think.
for sure. Gets those wheels turning.
Exactly. So, like, one of the first things he brings up is that classic story, the businessman and the fisherman.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
Right. So just in case people haven't heard, it's like this businessman, he sees a fisherman just chilling on the beach, right? Just totally relaxed.
Living the life.
Right. And the businessman's like, what are you doing? You should be working harder. You could have a bigger boat, more nets, a whole fleet, that whole spiel.
Building an empire. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the fisherman's just like, why? So I can be stressed out all the time like you.
And then what? Right? What's the end goal?
Exactly. And it just gets at this whole idea of intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, right? Like the fisherman is content. He finds joy in the simplicity of his work, in nature.
He's present in the moment.
Yes. But the businessman is all about those external markers of success, money, possessions, power.
Always chasing that next thing.
Always.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, who's actually living the richer life there?
Right. Because is it really richer if you're miserable?
Exactly. And this is where the Dhruv Rathee video gets really interesting. So it's easy to say money can't buy happiness, right? But then he brings up Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah. The richest guy on the planet.
Exactly. And you got to wonder, like, is he happy?
$1 million question right there.
Right. So Rathee actually goes and pulls these tweets from Musk himself, where he's talking about, like, terrible lows, unrelenting stress, basically, all the downsides of his success.
Because even with all that money, he's still human. He still deals with the same human emotions.
Yeah. And, there was even that Wall Street Journal report about Musk, about him using ketamine to, deal with depression.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Although didn't he later say that wasn't really what was going on?
Yeah, he kind of downplayed it later on. But still, it makes you think, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like even with all the resources in the world, he's still facing those struggles.
It's kind of wild to think that even someone with rockets and electric cars, is still dealing with the same human stuff as the rest of us. But it gets kind of heartbreaking, actually, because Rathee then talks about Musk's daughter.
Oh, right.
And this is where I think things get really real. Because, at 18, she files to legally change her name and cut off all contact with him.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. You have to wonder what's going on there.
I know, right? And it's not like some, tabloid rumor mill thing. Like, Musk's biographer actually talked about how deeply it affected him.
Wow, that's rough.
It is. And it makes you think, like, how much of a role did his wealth and everything that comes with it, the pressure, the always being in the public eye, the demands on his time, play in that relationship falling apart? Like, at what point is enough if it costs you your family?
Man, heavy stuff.
It is. And, the thing is, this isn't just like an isolated incident. Rathee, he points out that the divorce rate among billionaires is insanely high.
Right.
Like 49%.
Seriously, that's almost half of them.
I know, right? It's crazy. Like, we're talking Bezos, Gates, Arno, all the big names going through these very public splits.
You start to think maybe it's not just a coincidence. Maybe there is something about that level of wealth that puts a strain on relationships.
Right. Like, is there something about having that much money that makes it harder to hold on to those close connections?
It's definitely something to think about.
Makes you wonder if maybe money can buy a house but not a home,
Yeah, like what's the point of all those rooms if there's no one to share them with?
Exactly. And it's not just billionaires, right? Like, Rathee goes on to talk about some pretty tragic stories with celebrities, too.
Oh, yeah, the dark side of fame. That's a whole other level.
Right. And he brings up, like, Pratyusha Banerjee, Robin Williams, incredibly talented actors, both gone too soon.
Both took their own lives, which is just, it's heartbreaking.
It really is. And
Yeah.
then there's Kurt Cobain, like Nirvana at the peak of their careers.
Yeah, and he still felt like it was too much.
It's a reminder that, money and fame, it doesn't make you immune to those inner struggles.
Nope, those demons, they don't discriminate.
Not at all. But Rathee does offer some glimmers of hope too. Like, He talks about celebrities who have been really open about their struggles, like Kapil Sharma, Deepika
Oh,
Padukone.
yeah, they've been really vocal about their experiences with depression, which is so important.
Right, like to have people in the public eye talking about mental health, it helps to kind of destigmatize it, you know?
For sure. It makes it okay for others to come forward to say,
Hmm.
hey, I'm struggling too.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, we're all human, right?
Absolutely. Money or fame, it doesn't change that.
So, okay, we've talked about how more money doesn't automatically equal more happiness.
Right. It's definitely not a one-to-one thing.
But then it's like, is there a magic number?
The million-dollar question, or, well, maybe billion-dollar question in this case.
Right, like is there some ideal income level where people tend to be the happiest? Have they done studies on this?
They have, actually, and it's pretty fascinating. So there's this thing called the happiness plateau.
Okay, that sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
So basically, up to a certain income, and this varies depending on where you live and the cost of living, but up to a point, yeah, more money does seem to make people happier.
Makes sense, right? Like if you're struggling to pay rent, more money would definitely help.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. After that point, the happiness gains, they start to diminish.
So it's like once you have enough to be comfortable, to not stress about bills, that initial more money, more happiness thing, it kind of fades away.
Pretty much. It suggests that other factors start to matter more. Your relationships, your sense of purpose, your overall well-being.
Which makes sense when you think about it. Like early retirement, that's the dream for a lot of people. But then what? What happens after you achieve financial freedom?
Exactly. And that's something this video really pushes you to consider, like what truly brings meaning and fulfillment, even after you've checked off those financial goals.
Right, because it's not like money's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
So where do we go from there? Like what are some other paths to happiness?
Well, this is where Rathi brings up some pretty interesting perspectives from ancient Indian philosophies. He talks about karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga.
Okay, I'll be honest. Those sound a little intimidating. Can you break those down for me?
Of course. So, karma yoga is all about finding fulfillment through selfless service, through taking action. It's the idea that by helping others, we find a sense of purpose that goes beyond material things.
So like volunteering, donating to a good cause, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And then you have Gyan Yoga, which emphasizes the pursuit of knowledge and self-realization. It's about always seeking understanding, not just for yourself, but for the betterment of everyone.
So constantly learning, expanding your mind.
Exactly. Reading, taking classes, always exploring new ideas. And finally, there's Bhakti Yoga, which is the path of devotion and love.
Okay. And what does that look like in practice?
It can be about cultivating deep love and connection in your relationships. It can be about finding joy and fulfillment through faith or a connection to something larger than yourself.
So kind of like finding a sense of belonging.
Yeah, and purpose. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to choose just one of these paths. They can all intertwine.
It's about finding what resonates with you.
Exactly. What Rathi's saying is there are so many paths to happiness and fulfillment that have nothing to do with how much money you have.
It's about so much more than that.
It really is. And to really drive that point home, Rathi brings up another powerful concept, the regrets of the dying.
Oh, right. This is where he talks about that Australian nurse, Bronnie Ware. I actually read her book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, powerful stuff.
Right. And Rathi, he highlights a key takeaway from Ware's work. When people are facing the end of their lives, very few of them wish they had made more money.
It's like, imagine working your whole life for something, and then when you're finally there, it's like, wait, this wasn't it?
Yeah, talk about an existential crisis.
Right. Like those final moments, and you're thinking, man, I wish I hadn't spent so much time at the office.
It really puts things in perspective. And according to Ware, what people do regret is not spending enough time with loved ones, not taking risks, not truly being themselves.
Not really living, you know?
Exactly. They wish they hadn't worked so hard, that they'd allowed themselves to be happier.
It's heavy stuff, but like in a good way, you know?
Yeah.
It makes you think, if you knew your time was limited, would you be out there trying to climb the corporate ladder? Or would you be like with your family, traveling the world, pursuing your passions, like really living?
Right, because those are the things that really matter at the end of the day.
They are. And I think, you know, what's so great about this Dhruv Rathee video is it's not like anti-money or anything. It's not saying everyone should go live in a van down by the
Yeah,
river.
it's not about demonizing wealth.
It's more about like redefining what a meaningful life looks like for you.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance. Material comfort's great, But it's not everything.
It's about finding that inner peace, too.
Exactly. And that's a journey, right? It's
Right.
something you work towards.
It's a lifelong thing,
Yeah.
for sure. But man, this video, this deep dive, it's a great reminder to, like, check yourself,
Yeah.
am I chasing the right things? Am I prioritizing what truly matters?
It's so easy to get caught up in the rat race. Always striving for that next promotion, that bigger paycheck.
Always wanting more, more, more.
But at the end of the day, it's the relationships, the experiences, the moments of joy. Those are the things that make a life rich.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Remember, you are the author of your own life story.
Love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a question. If you knew your time was limited, what would you do differently? How would you choose to live each day with more intention? The answer just might surprise you.